Hey friends, it's Laura. Are there some tricky products in your stash that you're having a hard time finding a use for? Let's dive into some product play and see how we can get them used.
Okay, so let's talk wood veneer. Wood veneer is something that I got a bit obsessed with when I first started doing more modern types of scrapbooking, and I bought a lot of it. I have like little grab bags of it, these giant cards. I have some of these big hearts, like full old packs. I had to find this on eBay or something because somebody else had it and I thought it was so cool, so I had to have it. This is from Craft Market. I wasn't even doing American crafts papers when Craft Market was a thing. I have little baggies with tiny bits and pieces. Have some of these, like a lot of these Heidi Swap words. And oh gosh, some Evalicious stuff. Is Evalicious still a thing? This is 5 years old. I've not had it for 5 years. I probably got it on clearance somewhere. But my point is that this is something I have a lot of in my stash. And I get questions every once in a while of how to use wood veneer in particular, because I do mention from time to time that it's one of my favorites to play with. It's pretty versatile. You can do a lot to wood veneer to make it work on your layout, but it is dimensional. I mean, even just looking at this, it's fairly thick. So it's gonna add some bulk to your layout no matter what you do. Even thin wood veneer is gonna add some sort of bulk to your layouts. So how do I use it? I'm glad you asked. So I have a handful of layouts here I wanna show you. Some ideas for using wood veneer. So to start with, you can use it in your clusters. So in this case, I've created 3 clusters on the page, and they're just some wood veneer stars. I haven't done anything to them, just glued them straight down on the page. I've added a little bit of wood veneer to all 3 clusters, which helps them to feel cohesive. And because these photos are of the outdoors, I think the wood tone works really well on this layout. On the next one, now I'm just using them for sprinkly bits. So just have some little tiny butterflies added around the outside, the perimeter here, of my floral explosion. And all this does is break up the pink, the bold yellows and the blues, and again, bring in some of that wood tone that's very neutral, very calming to the situation, considering how many bright colors are happening on this page. Now, how about this one? Now we're gonna get started using wood veneer in a different way. So in this way I have used, I think these are markers to color the wood veneer in different colors and then place them as part of this wreath around my photo. Really love using them this way. I love changing the colors of them. And I like the way that they kind of match some of the other elements in the background. So that was just using markers. In this layout, I am using them as some sort of journaling. So I've got these wood veneer phrases and I've just set them up as a bit of journaling. Hello, it's me, introducing myself to a horse. It's the only wood veneer on the page and it's very simple and just kind of popped on here, but it works. And the reason that it works is because the color tones in the photos work really well with the color tones in the wood veneer. On this layout, we actually have quite a bit of wood veneer and some bigger pieces. So in this case, I have this giant leaf coming out the side here, and then I have a large floral here. So what these are doing at this point is bringing in more dimension. Otherwise, this layout would feel kind of flat because everything is taped down to the back. Even the puffy words are pretty flat. And so by adding in these very dimensional pieces, because these are quite thick, it makes this layout stand out, and having the largest pieces closer to my photos helps to draw your attention directly into the photos themselves. Because we've got this big dark border in the background, this also helps to lighten up the overall look of the page and make it look a little bit more balanced between light and dark and not quite so dark that my photos kind of fade into the background. Now, wood veneer comes in a lot of different types. In this case, we're talking about wood buttons. And this may be something you're more familiar with if you're used to the older style of scrapbooking, because buttons were a big thing for a long time. And personally, I'm not a huge fan of buttons, but when I find them or get them in kits, I do try to use them because I don't want them to sit in my stash. They're just not something I'm going to reach for, and I recognize that. So in this case, I've added buttons to each of the major clusters on the page, which in this case, there's actually 4. We have one at the bottom, one on each side of the photo, one at the top left. But the rest of the embellishing is pretty simple and pretty flat. So in doing this, it helps to bounce the eye around the page using a very dimensional, because these buttons are quite thick, a very dimensional element on the page. Now on this one, I've not only done the little scattering pieces, but I've also done my title, and it's part of a 2-word title. And I really like doing this with wood veneer because quite often you'll get very fanciful words or whimsical words like cute, love, family, friends, things like that, which are great, but I personally like longer titles. And so this allows me to create a multi-font title very simply. And I really like how easy it is to pop something like this onto a page, get a little bit of that wood grain on there, and it just kind of, it's a beautiful neutral that really works with whatever color scheme you've picked. I really, really enjoy it, but especially for outdoor photos, you'll find that it's a favorite of mine to leave it quite natural. Now this layout here, I have used paint pens, I believe, on these wood veneer pieces, and they're quite brightly colored. This one has been colored like a navy. This one's yellow, this one's pink, this one's yellow, and I'm just trying to pull in the colors from the background here into the wood veneer because it didn't have a lot of embellishments that matched these colors, and I wanted to make sure I was tying this paper in to the rest of the layout. This was from a stash kit that was a little bit more masculine and a little bit more primary colored. So I had to find some tricky ways to bring in more primary colors into the embellishments because that's not something I normally buy a lot of. And so just making it work with the wood veneer, because it's so flexible, you can color it anything you like. Here's another one where I've modified the wood veneer itself. I have added Nuvor drops on top of these clouds, and it takes them from being very neutral and nature themed to being very white and fluffy appearing. In real life, they're actually quite flat. Now the wood veneer itself is very thick. I think you can see that, but the Nuvor on top is not. It does not have the huge dimension that it would if you were just creating a drop. When you put this much on here, it tends to settle down into kind of a bumpy feeling, which I think is perfect for adding the kind of cloud texture that I was going for. So in this case, it's creating a whole background with these clouds above the mixed media watercolor paint. In this layout, I'm mostly using the wood veneer as minor embellishing. So it's just popping up in 3 places on the layout, and it's very, very small. It's not a scattering all around the florals. It's not a big bold title. It's not journaling. It's just as a small addition to the clustering that's already existing. And because it's so neutral, it doesn't stand out as much as things like this bold black, this bold black, these dimensional foam. The wood veneer actually fades in to the background quite nicely. Unlike this one. So in this one, I have done a en masse wood veneer background. This is also wood veneer, this giant title, Remember. And what I've done is put some gold glitter paste on it so that the title itself will stand out. And then I've just kind of glued everything down where it would fit. There's no rhyme or reason to the pieces that I chose. I literally grabbed my bowl here that I keep on my desk that is full of a variety of wood veneer pieces from all over the place. And I just started sticking. I put the larger pieces first. So like this piece here, this is a triangle. some of the larger pieces in first and then fit in the smaller pieces where there were still gaps. And I love the way this looks. It's super textural. It's a lot of fun to touch. Even through a page protector, you can feel the texture with this, and I absolutely love it. Down here, I also added some glitter paste to these so that they tied in, and it made sense on the layout. It also gave my journaling a spot to land that looked purposeful and not just accidental. So this is another option, creating a shape using wood veneer in large quantities. Then we have this lovely. Now, some of you may be looking at this one going, holy moly, Laura. This is a beautiful wood piece, and I believe it was from Dear Lizzie, one of her older collections. And I desperately wanted to use this as a background. I love the wood feel of it. I love the neutral feel of it, and how I was able to trace some of the hearts to not back them like a cut file, but kind of front them, I guess. And some of them I did the smaller hearts and then use that shape to create an outline inside. I really love the way that this worked out. My main thought though was I wanted to make sure that my photo still stood out, even though I've got this giant wood veneer piece in the background. And by adding things like these paper shapes and the sequins in several areas, it kind of downplays the immensity of wood in the background. It also helps that some of the hearts have some Wink of Stella glitter on them, and so that softens the look a little bit. It's not as in your face that it's a big giant piece of wood. And my photo being a large 4x6 and focused solely on one thing also helps to make it the focus, where if it was more of a 4 or 5 people in the photos, it might not stand out compared to this wood veneer piece. But because it's a nice close-up selfie, it definitely grabs your attention. My favorite part though was that I was able to get journaling on the wood veneer itself, and I thought that was really cool. Now in this layout, not only do I have my title in wood veneer, but I've also got this large star down here. I have this banner piece up at the top. So 3 areas, oh yeah, the ticket, so that's 4. A ticket over here as well. And some of the pieces also had wood veneer papers. So I have a wood veneer frame back here. I have wood veneer photo quarters right here. So me adding wood veneer here is really just blending in to what was already existing on the layout. And having such a beautiful, warm neutral was perfect to balance out all of the super cool tones that are everywhere else in this layout. So it was more about balancing the ratio of cool to warm on the page than anything else, because otherwise you just have a little bit of yellow, a little bit of orange, and a little bit of yellow, but you have these bold blues and greens that just pop off the page. And so these really help to tone that down a little bit and give it more of a neutral vibe. For this last one, I have used it partially as a subtitle. So we have snapshot with my favorite, and then a day to remember. We also have right now. So while those do partially function as subtitles, they also function as the same way, balancing things out. We have wood veneer on the paper here, which helps to tie them in really beautifully, but we also have some really bright, bold colors on this layout, and adding those neutrals really helps to tone it down and to make it feel like it's not too in your face. But I've also made my photo black and white to do that same thing, to help make sure the focus is where it should be on the photo. I really love using wood veneer on my pages. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. And if there are different ways you use wood veneer, I would love to hear them. But that's it for this one, guys. I hope it was helpful. Until next time, bye.